Hello, everybody, and welcome. Today is Tuesday, January 5th, 2021. Uh-oh.
Hello, everybody, and welcome.
Boy, I am so good
Today
for doing
is
this.
Tuesday, January
Lord have
5th,
mercy.
2021.
And we're just going to go ahead and mute that. Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing? Welcome to the stream. It is so good to have you. Let me take this banner off so we can get started. Big shout out to my January 2021 sponsor. And my special message to you today is may good fortune be with you. May your guiding light be strong. And if anyone actually knows where I got that from, I'll be very, very impressed. But I did not make that up. I actually got that from somewhere. So it would be cool if some of you actually recognized it right away. But thank you so much to my January 2021 sponsor. If you are interested in sponsoring the channel, there is information in the description box for you. You can check it out there and we will get you all set up. The next available slot is March. All right. So you will be our March sponsor if you sign up for that. Welcome to everyone. Hi, Barbados. Welcome. Nice. I need to come visit you guys down there and see those beautiful, beautiful islands once everything clears out, of course. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the show. It's very exciting to have you. I am actually really, really excited about this topic. This is something that has come up multiple times over the course of my channel being on YouTube, and one that I have a pretty firm position on. But as of late, I'm starting to possibly reconsider my position. But me reconsidering my position means a whole host of other things. So it's kind of like in science, when they make a new discovery, it changes everything else. It changes all the old theories. It changes any new theories when they make that discovery. So that's kind of where I am with this, but we're going to talk through it. And I want to make sure everyone really knows what the purpose of the show is. So let me go ahead and do a good old-fashioned disclaimer, okay? The purpose of this show is to explore the alleged connection between narcissism, autism, and Aspergers Syndrome. In no way is the intent of this show to demonize, ostracize, or label those with autism and Asperger syndrome. And I have to say that, you guys, because believe it or not, in spite of that disclaimer, people are still going to walk away and go, oh my God, I can't believe Permission to Exist is calling people with autism and Asperger's narcissists. Guarantee it. And you know how I know that? Where is that comment? I took a screenshot earlier. This comment came in earlier today before this show was even up on your feed. This comment came in sometime this morning, and it says, I heard you say autism is a narcissist. My nephew has Asperger's autism and does have empathy. And they're getting that from probably that live stream I did called Hey. That's where they're getting that from. And I responded to them and said, I never said autism is a narcissist. And I never did, never have. And as a matter of fact, I advocate for the opposite. I don't agree with that theory. But as you can see already, just from me teasing the idea, people take the idea tease, hear what they want to hear, and interpret it exactly how I think they will, which is, oh my God, I can't believe Permission to Exist is calling people with autism and Asperger's narcissists. That's how they're going to take it. That is. And I accept that. I've come to accept that no matter what I say, no matter how clearly or plainly I say it, people are going to walk away with their own interpretation, and that is your right. Because I rest comfortably at night knowing what I actually said. So you can live with your interpretation, but your interpretation is not necessarily reality or truth. And that's just kind of how you have to move with these things in order to maintain your sanity. So for the record, and so we are clear, the purpose of this show is to explore the alleged connection between autism, Asperger's, and narcissism, a connection other people brought to my attention. I never even had heard of it prior to starting this channel. People brought it to me. So this is my response, my thought process. We're going to chat through it. And I very, very much want you guys' opinion on all of this as we move through it, especially any personal experiences would be awesome. Okay. Now, yes, John Quill, that is the song that quote came from. I'm so impressed. I really am. But I know I shouldn't be because I do believe you have a pretty extensive musical history. But yes, John Quill, that's where I got it from. So that quote that I gave to my silent partner is from the song Forever Young by Rod Stewart. And Jay-Z has a version of it too. And I also love that version. I just like that song. So yeah, and I mean it too. So to my silent partner, I do. What did I just wish you? Oh, I do hope that good fortune is with you and your guiding light is strong. Okay. Now, before we move on, I do want to just touch on a couple of things. One, some of you might be like, PTE, what is up with your thumbnail? What's up with the head and the puzzle pieces and the colors and the butterfly? And I learned that all of these things are associated with the autism community. These are actually all symbols that they use to represent the complexity and the diversity of autism, okay? But I wanted to be a little bit more specific. So when it comes to the autism community, the butterfly, it says, according to the art of autism, the butterfly is developing as an alternative to the traditional and sometimes controversial puzzle piece. The butterfly symbolizes beauty and diversity, change in its own time, and continuing development. It's also a symbol of the beauty of a different perspective, okay? So that's what the butterfly means. Then the puzzle piece, it says the puzzle ribbon was adopted in 1999 as the universal sign of autism awareness. The autism awareness ribbon, the puzzle pattern reflects the complexity of the autism spectrum. The different colors and shapes represent the diversity of the people and families living with the condition, okay? So that's where that thumbnail comes from. I didn't just pick it out of the clear blue sky and put it on here, okay? And apparently the puzzle pieces have caused some controversy. I didn't look very far into it. Logo, that's the word I'm looking for, logo. Thank you. But apparently they're trying to move away from the puzzle pieces because it's causing some sort of ableist type controversy. So I didn't look too far into that, but that's kind of where the butterfly is coming from. They're trying to redefine it in a way. So I wanted everyone to know that for anyone who didn't know. And I also need to do this, y'all. I need to define the word alleged, okay? Because once again, someone will trot along and accuse me of something that I'm not doing. So I want to be clear. The word alleged is an adjective, and it means accused but not proven or convicted, asserted to be true or to exist, questionably true or of a specified kind, okay? That's what alleged means. So in other words, I'm not saying this is true. This is something that other people have brought to my attention and are alleging is true. So we are going to explore that today. What do you guys think? Do you think that's clear enough, or do you think I'll still get the confused, accusatory comments in my chat and in my comment section later? What do you think? Let's move on, okay? So, as with any topic of this nature, I do want to go ahead and offer a clear definition. This definition comes from the website Autism Speaks, which is the primary, I believe, advocacy group for individuals with autism. So I am just going to read it really briefly so we're clear. And I'm building up to something with all of this, all right? We're putting one foot in front of the other. Welcome to everybody in the chat. Autism or autism spectrum disorder refers to a broad range of conditions characterized by challenges with social skills, repetitive behaviors, speech, and nonverbal communication. According to the Centers for Disease Control, autism affects an estimated 1 in 54 children in the United States today. We know that there is not one autism, but many subtypes, most influenced by a combination of genetic and environmental factors. Because autism is a spectrum disorder, each person with autism has a distinct set of strengths and challenges. The ways in which people with autism learn, think, and problem solve can range from highly skilled to severely challenged. Some people with ASD may require significant support in their daily lives, while others may need less support and, in some cases, live entirely independently. Several factors may influence the development of autism and is often accompanied by sensory sensitivities and medical issues such as GI disorders, seizures, or sleep disorders, as well as mental health challenges such as anxiety, depression, and attention issues. Signs of autism usually appear by age 2 or 3. Some associated development delays can appear even earlier, and often it can be diagnosed as early as 18 months. Research shows that early intervention leads to positive outcomes later in life for people with autism, okay? So this is the official definition according to Autism Speaks, all right? Now, let's move on to Asperger's, the definition of Asperger's. Okay, they laid this one out a little bit differently. Let's take a look. And it's known as Aspergers Syndrome or Aspergers, so they're both correct, okay? Aspergers Syndrome or Asperger's is a previously used diagnosis on the autism spectrum. In 2013, it became part of one umbrella diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders 5, the DSM-5. Typical to strong verbal language skills and intellectual ability, typical to strong verbal language skills and intellectual ability distinguish Asperger's syndrome from other types of autism. They're going to need to reword that. Asperger's syndrome generally involves difficulty with social interactions, restricted interests, desire for sameness, distinctive strengths. Strengths can include remarkable focus and persistence, aptitude for recognizing patterns, attention to detail. Challenges can include hypersensitivities to light, sounds, tastes, difficulty with the give and take of conversation, difficulty with nonverbal communication skills like distance, loudness, and tone, uncoordinated movements or clumsiness, anxiety, and depression, okay? So we just looked at the definition, and this is also from Autism Speaks. We just looked at the definition of autism. We just looked at the definition of Asperger's syndrome, okay? So now that you have both of those in mind, let's look at the definition of narcissism according to the American Psychological Association, okay? This came from the APA, not the writing. This came from, well, actually, no, that is. Yeah, when you have to write in APA format, that is the American Psychological Association format, isn't it? Wow, they've got their hands in everything. So this came straight from the APA. Narcissistic personality disorder. In DSM-4 TR and DSM-5, a personality disorder with the following characteristics: a long-standing pattern of grandiose self-importance and an exaggerated sense of talent and achievements, fantasies of unlimited copulation, power, brilliance, or beauty, an exhibitionistic need for attention and admiration, either cool indifference or feelings of rage, humiliation, or emptiness as a response to criticism, indifference, or defeat, various interpersonal disturbances such as feeling entitled to special favors, taking advantage of others, and inability to empathize with the feelings of others. Now, I didn't think to do this, and I should have, but I should have put all three on the same screen. I really should have, so we could cross compare. You know what? There's no time like the present, kids. Y'all are just going to have to bear with me. So while I'm doing that, for those who heard all three, think through where you feel autism fits in the narcissistic personality disorder while I'm setting this up so we can look. And this may be a trick question, just so you know. So let's get this done. Boom, boom. Picture from file. Yes. Click. Yep. Yep. That's exactly what I want. Insert. Brilliant. Copy. No time like the present. Welcome to everybody in the chat. If you're just joining, I am just doing something that I didn't think to do when I was setting the show up, but I'm doing it now. All right, perfect. Paste. Boom. So that's the autism definition right there. It's going to be a little small, but I think you guys will be okay. Asperger. Let's grab Asperger and put her right here. Yep. Welcome to everybody. If you happen to be happened to be a mod and you're no longer a mod and you didn't hear the announcement on the last show, you guys didn't do anything wrong. I just reset my mods for 2021, okay? So I don't know if there is any former mods in the chat, but you might be wondering, what happened? Did I upset her? Nope, you didn't do anything wrong. Just resetting for the chat, or for the 2021. I was going to say for the 2021 school year. Wow. All right. I'm almost there, guys. I just got one more thing to paste and we'll be there. Nope. Come on, PowerPoint. There we go. Paste. All right. Brilliant. Yes. Brilliant. Okay. Okay. So it's not going to be the easiest thing to see, but you'll get the point, I think. And you can always pause it and enlarge. Okay, this is about as good as it's going to get. Okay, so play from current slide. Boom. All right, let me bring you guys back. Welcome, everyone. I see someone answered my question. The question was, tell me where you feel like autism fits in the definition of narcissism. And they gave the answer, it doesn't fit at all. And that is exactly the point that I'm trying to make. That's exactly the point that I'm trying to make. So now that I have all three of them on the same screen, again, I recognize, especially if you're on your phone, you won't be able to see this very well, but I just felt like I needed to do this. As you can see, so people with autism primarily suffer with social skills, repetitive behaviors, speech and nonverbal communication issues, okay? Sometimes they even have what they call STEMs. I was doing a little research before all of this, okay? Then you have people with Aspergers Syndrome who also have the social interaction difficulty, restricted interests, desire for sameness, and distinctive strengths. Where I can see, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me keep going. They have remarkable focus and persistence, aptitude for recognizing patterns, and attention to detail. They are a little hypersensitive. They struggle with the give and take of conversation. They have difficulty with nonverbal communication skills, movements, a little clumsy, anxiety, and depression. Whereas down in your lower left-hand corner, your narcissist is suffering with grandiose self-importance, an exaggerated sense of talent and achievements, fantasies of unlimited copulation, power, brilliance, beauty, an exhibitionistic need for attention and admiration, cool indifference or feelings of rage, humiliation, emptiness as a response to criticism, etc., and various interpersonal disturbances and feeling entitled to different things. Guys, these don't match. Now, I see where they're getting it from. So, for example, if a characteristic of autism is that they sometimes struggle with communication. Well, we talk about communication all the time on this channel, how they hog conversations, how they get aggravated when it's your turn to speak, all of these different things. I could see how someone would think that's a feature of autism, but you have to understand that the narcissist can turn it off and on. The narcissist can be wrapped with attention when it's someone they feel like is powerful and they can siphon that power or have power by proxy. You understand? But when they've deemed you lesser than them, they don't feel the need to tune into your conversation. To me, that's different from someone who struggles with nonverbal communication and things of that nature. You see what I mean? Then we go over to Asperger. And to me, Asperger is ruled out because people with Asperger's actually recognize patterns. They see them. They pay attention to detail. What are we always talking about with narcissists? Narcissists don't seem to notice the patterns. It's like it goes completely over their heads. So oftentimes they'll end up repeating the same day because they never change and grow because they're not really paying attention to anything. anything. And just as a sidebar note, I don't entirely agree with the APA definition of narcissism, obviously. Maybe I'll do a separate stream on that, where I agree and where I disagree with this definition and why I think that's causing so many problems. Because if this is what you think narcissism is, well, no wonder we're having such an issue treating it to the best of our ability, but at least getting a grip on it. Because the narcs I know, a lot of them don't suffer with that grandiosity like that. But that's a different stream. We'll get into that another day. But do you guys see my point? Do you kind of see why I've always felt like, nah, I don't think these are the same? I don't. I really, really don't. So that's kind of a major setup to the rest of the show. So all of this was context building, okay? The purpose of this was to get a clear definition on autism, Asperger, and narcissism, to kind of show you why I've always felt like they are not the same, and also to kind of set you up for the conversation we're getting ready to have, okay? So this was all kind of part one. So now let's move into part two, which is the actual point and purpose of this show, okay? As I was setting up for our next People of the Lie book review, I came across the following quote in the book. This is on page 165 of People of the Lie. And that quote says, "Autism is narcissism in ultimate form. For the complete narcissist, others have no more psychological reality than a piece of furniture." Okay? That is not coming from me. That is coming straight out of the book. If you are upset with this quote, contact Dr. Peck if he's still with us. Okay? Contact his publishing house. You take all that anger over there. This is coming from the book. Okay? And again, I'm saying it's alleged. All right? But a doctor said this. Okay? Autism is narcissism in its ultimate form. So in other words, it's end stage narcissism. Now, I don't agree with this, but let me back up. I don't agree with this necessarily. But the other day, I'm on the internet and just kind of watching videos like I normally do. And I come across a very interesting video. And I'm not going to read the whole title because I want to keep the algorithm asleep. But you can see the title there on your screen. I used to be a women. I used to be let's see, what can I substitute this? I'll say Pincell. I used to be a Pincell who strongly disliked women. Okay. If you're just listening, you'll have to look on your screen to see what we're saying. I used to be a Pincell who strongly disliked women. Okay. Now, once again, let's refocus. This stream is not about Pincells or the strong dislike of women. This stream is about this clip that we are about to listen to, okay? And I got permission to use this, y'all. So shout out. The name of this channel is Other People's Lives. This is where I got this video clip from, and they did give me permission to use this clip. So thank you so much to Other People's Lives. I really appreciate the collaboration. And I hope some of my viewers will go check you out, okay? But let's take a look at this clip. It is 3 minutes long, but because I actually have permission, I don't have to start and stop the video. So we're going to listen and watch this clip. The closed captions are on it. And then we're going to talk through it in the context of this entire conversation that we're having, okay? So here we go.
Is the feeling too, and I think I've heard this before around, these communities, like there's obviously it's a hatred for women. You're, like you said, lumping them into one category and they're over there. But is it also like that you feel I guess like you're owed something, like it's like it's a woman's obligation to kind of like show you interest, and there's no reason that these dates shouldn't be going well or shouldn't be ending in sex? Is that accurate?
Yeah, and I think part of that, at least for me personally, is the Asperger Syndrome. Because it kind of makes me think like a robot, and it makes me think very literal about things. So I thought of everything as kind of as shitty as it sounds, I thought of everything as kind of a transaction. Like well, if I'm just, or like a science equation or a math equation, like, oh, if I do X, Y, and Z, then the woman in question has to show interest in me. Otherwise, the system is messed up, or she's just a bitch, and I went with the latter. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of that line of thinking, like, I'm entitled to this. I'm a real nice guy, and I'm decent. I focus on my school, and I do everything right, and I'm being a decent human being in conversation, and I'm trying to be funny and do all this other stuff that you're quote unquote supposed to do, and I'm not getting anything in return. And it starts to turn into a feeling of confusion to a level of entitlement.
So now that you have like the contrast, because I'm assuming by the tone of this conversation, you don't feel the same way as you once did, but I am just interested in, your opinion on why you think that line of thinking is foolish and what like reality is, and like sort of like what you were going through, what was clouding your judgment at the time.
Yeah, and the reason why this line of thinking is so foolish is because women are just people, man. Like they're just other people. I mean, you really, the way I look at it now is this is just another person, and I still struggle with that at times, but overall, I just see them as other people. That's what they are. They're human beings with feelings and emotions and issues of their own. And it's really silly, to say the least, to just lump all 3.5 billion women into this one category of, you're just a slut who likes to fuck Chad and you don't want to give guys like me a chance. I think it's just ridiculous. There are other people with different problems, and you don't know what someone else's life is like. And that's kind of what led to my transition. And again, at the height of this, I really didn't feel that at all. But you start to get more life experience, and you start to really do some introspection and look into yourself, and you start to realize that the problem is you. It's not other people.
Okay. So I know that was kind of a lot. Well, not a lot, but there's quite a few things that I hope that you picked up on in this video. Do you guys want me to play it again, or did you get it? Because the first and primary thing, we'll just do this. I hope you guys don't mind this. Let's just kind of walk through it really quick, because it all kind of matters. There's certain things I really did want you to see, okay?
Is the feeling too, and I think I've heard this before around, these communities, like there's obviously, it's a hatred for women. You're, like you said, lumping them into one category, and, they're over there. But is it also like that you feel, I guess like you're owed something, like it's a woman's obligation to kind of like show you interest, and there's no reason that these dates shouldn't be going well or shouldn't be ending in sex? Is that accurate?
Yeah, and I think part of that, at least for me personally, is the Aspergers Syndrome, because it kind of makes me think like a robot. Okay,
so this is the first thing that I wanted to pull out and discuss. He attributed let me say this. This is not about Pincell's or their strong dislike for women. It's actually not what this is about at all. This is about him saying that his having Asperger's causes him to think like a robot. And in thinking like a robot, it makes him think very literal about things. So when it came to women, it made him think, well, if I do this, then she should do that. And I did this and she didn't do that. Why not? Do you understand? Do you understand how serious of an issue this is? Let's continue. For anyone who thinks like a robot, for the record, okay?
And it makes me think very literal about things. So I thought of everything as kind of as shitty as it sounds, I thought of everything as kind of a transaction.
He thought of everything like a transaction. And this is, if you were talking to this gentleman, if he wasn't on this show, would you think anything was necessarily quote unquote wrong with him? And no, I'm not saying having Asperger's is wrong. What I'm saying is this is a person who's confessing that he didn't really see women as people. He has a hard time still thinking of them as simply other human beings. And he's attributing that to his Aspergers syndrome. So this is going to lead to a different conversation once we're through with this little video clip, okay? All right, here we go. Where's my mouse? Here we go.
Well, if I'm just, or like a science equation or a math equation, like, oh, if I do X, Y, and Z, then the woman in question has to show interest in me. Otherwise, the system is messed up or she's just a bitch, and I went with the latter.
Oh, man. So he thinks transactionally. So if he does this, then the woman he's interested in has to show interest in him. And if she doesn't, the system is messed up or she's just a B word. Now, this is a guy who probably has a college degree. He probably has a great job somewhere high up, not necessarily like CEO, but what I mean is like senior manager. Do you understand? So do you understand how the inability to process the fact that that's not how humans work, that just because you do something, someone else does not suddenly owe you something in return? Do you see, I'm getting way ahead of myself, but do you see the far-reaching implications of that? Because this kid seems normal. Do you guys understand? Let's go.
But yeah, I mean, it was kind of that line of thinking, like, I'm entitled to this. I'm a real nice guy, and I'm decent. I focus on my school, and I do everything right, and you know, I'm being a decent human being in conversation, and I'm trying to be funny and do all this other stuff that you're quote unquote supposed to do, and I'm not getting anything in return.
Is the feeling too?
What did I do?
Be funny and do all this other stuff that you're quote unquote supposed to do, and I'm not getting anything in return.
So picture this. Picture being the object of this young man's affection. And again, this is not about men and women. This is actually not about gender at all. This is just the example, okay? You're the object of this young man's affection. So in his mind, he thinks if I just say good morning to her every morning, if I offer her a candy bar from the vending machine, if I walk her to her car, well, surely she'll go on a date with me and then sleep with me this Friday. So when he does all those things and then he's like, hey, you want to go on a date? And she's like, oh, no, thank you. He's now enraged and hates all women because this one woman failed in this transaction. And if that happens more than once, all it does is solidify the hatred. So let's move off the gender example and just see what other areas could you apply that to if we're not talking about gender. A person who thinks transactionally, a person who thinks, what is it? Garbage in, garbage out, good in, good out. How does it go? A person who thinks in zeros and ones and doesn't understand that other people have choice, other people have options, that other people aren't like a computer program that you can just program to your will. And here's the other scary part about people who think like this. What if you actually kind of like them? So they're dealing with you in a transactional way, but you don't know that because so far you've kind of gone along with the plan because you actually like them. So let's say he stops by your desk every day and says good morning. Let's say he brings you a candy bar. Let's say he walks you to your car and you actually like that, right? So, and then he asks you on a date. And you're like, you know what? Sure. Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Let's go on a date on Friday. So now he's thinking the transactions work. Hey, I did this. She did that. I did this. She did that. Boom. Perfect. I did this. Secured the date. Now, what she doesn't understand is that the extension of that transaction is because I did all of these things. Now you're supposed to sleep with me. So when she doesn't understand, it's the equivalent of shorting out a computer. It's like sending a power surge through a computer. Like, what? What do you mean? Like, you smiled back at me. You let me walk you to your car. You took all my candy bars and now you don't want to sleep with me. And now she's become the B word again. And now all women are sluts and whores because of that one interaction. Do you understand how sincerely problematic this is? Okay. Let's keep going and then we'll move on.
And it starts to turn into feeling a confusion to a level of entitlement.
So now that you have like the contrast,
Did you see what he said? Oh my God. Me and this mouse. He said, feeling confusion to a level of entitlement. Did y'all catch
like
that?
the contrast, because I'm assuming by the tone of this
I'm just gonna
conversation,
keep
you
going.
don't feel the same way as you once did. But I am just
No, I need to harp on that really quick. He said he would feel confusion to the level of entitlement. So when you walk his logic ladder, you can actually see how he got there. Hey, I put all this input in. Where is my data out? That's how computers think. Computers are programmed. If I do this, you're supposed to do that. And when you don't, the program fails. And the way it fails in humans with this condition or this type of thinking is it fails to the level of entitlement, meaning you owe me. I put all this in and you didn't give me anything back. But they never realized that this was not a transaction to begin with. It was never a transaction. It was only a transaction to them. That's why the people who don't know they're in a transaction will do great with this person until they finally say no to that first transaction. And then that's when the computer short circuits and flatlines. Okay. Oh my God. This mouse, we're going to have it out.
And it starts to turn into feeling a confusion to a level of entitlement.
So now that you have like the contrast, because I'm assuming by the tone of this conversation, you don't feel the same way as you once did. But I am just interested in, your opinion on why you think that line of thinking is foolish and what like reality is, and like sort of like what you were going through, what was clouding your judgment at the time.
Yeah, and the reason why this line of thinking is so foolish is because women are just people, man.
Is because women are just people. Do you guys really understand what he's saying there? He's saying that prior to me having this revelation, he didn't see women as people. And I've told you guys this in other ways and other formats, other live streams, but I've told y'all that this is the primary issue. They don't think that we're real. And again, this live stream is not about this. This live stream is about the existence of a mind in our society that actually struggles with seeing other people as real, has to work on it, like has to practice it, kind of like you used to practice your math drills so you could memorize them, or practice your times tables is what they were called. Has to practice their human, the realization of other humans. It doesn't come natural. And that should scare everybody.
They're just other people. I mean, you really, the way I look at it now is this is just another person. And
this is just another person. So up until that point, what were they? Non-people. And what are you able to do to non-people? Getting ahead of myself. Let's go.
Still struggle with that at times.
He still struggles with it at times. So in other words, he has not fully crossed over to the revelation that women are people. He still struggles with it, kind of like an addict struggles with their previous addiction from time to time. He struggles remembering that women are people. So again, let me just get through this so I don't get ahead of myself. Okay, here we go.
Overall, I just see them as other people. That's what they are. They're human beings with feelings and emotions and issues of their own. And it's really silly, to say the least, to just lump all 3.5 billion women into this one category of, you're just a slut who likes to fuck Chad and you don't want to give guys like me a chance. I think it's just ridiculous. There are other people with different problems, and you don't know what someone else's life is like. And that's kind of what led to my transition. And again, at the height of this, I really didn't feel that at all.
At the height of this, he did not feel that women were other people with emotions and feelings and issues of their own. He didn't feel that at all. That's called dehumanization. So if they're able to dehumanize this particular group, what other groups are easily dehumanized? Do you understand? And if they claim that 1 in 54 children are struggling with this disorder, doesn't it start to answer the question, why has narcissism grown in our society? But again, that would be forcing us to make this link between Asperger's autism and narcissism. And that's a link that I'm really struggling with making. But what's changing my mind is that quote that we just looked at and this video. All right, so let's go.
You start to get more life experience and you start to really do some introspection and look into yourself, and you start to realize that the problem is you, it's not other people.
And so the final thing I want to say about this particular video clip is that he said, when you start to get more life experiences and introspection, then you start to realize the problem is you and not other people. So that means that until he had those life experiences, he was flying blind. So how much damage, I think I'm ahead of myself, but it's okay. How much damage could potentially be caused by a person who doesn't have enough life experience to see other people as people? Okay, let's move on to what this all means. Let's bring this all together. So the complete sentence is, if the connection, the alleged connection between narcissism, autism, and Asperger's is true, I have some questions, and this is also the purpose of this stream. I don't have the answers to these questions. These are questions for us all to think about as we kind of move through our day and week. If this is all true, how is this playing out in ways overlooked? So for example, that young man that was the caller on that call-in show, what if he's a recruiter for a company in charge of hiring people, in charge of finding people and hiring people? And what if he's a recruiter during a time where he doesn't personally believe women are people and they're all just entitled sluts who want to sleep with Chad? Then what does that mean for every resume that comes across his desk that happens to be a woman? Do you understand? Do you understand how a person like this could go undetected in a company? How a person like this could slip under the radar of a company and they would never know that they harbor these types of feelings or this type of brain inside, the type of mind that just says, well, A plus B must equal C. There couldn't possibly be any other explanations. Data in, data out, garbage in, garbage out, one foot in front of the other. Very literal, think like a robot. You know what I mean? That can fly under the radar. And then this recruiter could be trashing the resume of every woman because he hates women. Do you understand? And you could apply that to anything else: race, orientation, ethnicity, culture. You can apply it to anything, you see? So how is this playing out in ways that are being overlooked? How much damage is being caused while they work on seeing others as real and human? So you struggle with seeing other people as real, okay? People, people who think like him. And again, this is not about Pincells. This is about people who think like him, people. And people includes who? Men and women. And everyone in between, people, okay? Listen. While these people are working on seeing others as human, how much damage is being caused in the meantime? Think about the things you wouldn't be able to convince them of, things related to safety. We recently, on one of the news breaks, highlighted a company where I think 10 managers got fired because they started a betting pool to see how many people would drop from CV-19 at their company. So they place bets on their employees' heads. I guarantee you these are the same type of people who have trouble seeing others as human. Whoever they've identified as the other, they have a tough time seeing them as human beings. So how much damage is being caused while they work on seeing others as real and human? Okay. What other behaviors does this enable? When you think about the major crimes, and I won't list them in an effort to keep the algo asleep, baby algo, that's what I'll call her, baby algo. In an effort to keep baby algo asleep, I won't list those crimes, but think about the major crimes that get you locked up for life, basically. And I'm not just talking about violent crimes that take another's life. I'm talking about, think creatively. What are some of the other major crimes people get locked up for? Wouldn't that be enabled by a fundamental lack of understanding of the reality of another person? Or you have to work on seeing that particular group of people as human? If you have to work on that, that's, man, like, to me, that's the worst part. It's not like a sudden light bulb came on, like, oh my God, they're human beings. What am I doing? What am I thinking? It's, okay, they're human. All right, I'm going to work on that. Don't be cruel and unkind and cold, because I got to remember that they're human beings too. Got to work on that. Let me make a note to myself. Every morning I'll meditate on that for 30 seconds, that other people are also humans like me. Do you understand how kind of scary that is? We talked about empty seaters last year or the year before, y'all, and I think this plays into that as well. People who claim that they have no inner voice, I think this is part of it too. And I think it's leading to something bigger that no one really wants to admit to, unfortunately. Next question, and I posed this question before, but why does the brain default to evil? So if we are going to go on the premise that autism is narcissism in its ultimate form, then why does the brain, when it malfunctions, why does it malfunction toward evil? Why? You would have to explain that to me. That's always been my response to people who come through and say, I'm being mean and nasty to people with autism and Asperger's. I'll say, well, then explain the evil component to me then. Because you're also saying that they're pretty much evil people too, is what you're saying. I never said that. You did. So can you explain then why does the brain choose evil when it misfires? Why doesn't it misfire toward good? Do you see what I mean? Like, why doesn't it make you like the sweetest, kindest, like melt in your mouth butter, you know what I mean? Like butter cookie person on planet Earth. You know what I mean? Like the most genteel, humble, meek. No, it misfires in the opposite. It misfires towards evil. Why? That's probably a conversation for a deeper PTE, but it's concerning to me because it makes me think that we actually all have the same brain. And the only thing that makes it different are like our experiences, who we grew up around, you know, how we were raised, the different things that we read or take in. I think we might have to have that conversation on a deeper PTE, but if the brain always misfires toward evil, then it means two things. Evil is in all of us, and the only thing separating us from that evil is a healthy brain. That's another conversation. We'll have to have that conversation another day. Next question, are we looking at autism in the right way or ways? Okay, are we? If all of this is true, remember, this is an if-then statement. These are if-then statements, okay? Are we looking at this in the right way? Because when I did my research, y'all, first of all, I was very disappointed that pretty much everywhere I went, it all said the same thing. Like I could pretty much rehearse it word for word for you right now. And they all basically left me going, y'all don't know what you're talking about. Because they all basically, they're like, autism is a spectrum and it comes out in many different ways. And there's many different treatments and many different. And I'm like, if it's that many difference, I don't think you guys know what it is. You see what I mean? Like there's two, like no one really has like a firm grasp on it based on what I saw and the research I did. No one can really explain it, really. They kind of can, but kind of can't. And so if that's the case, are we looking at this through the correct lens? Maybe that's why nobody can explain it. And it might lead to some answers that we really don't want. And if that's the case, are we treating the condition in the right way or ways? And finally, and I hope nobody takes offense to this question, but I actually have already asked it before. So I'm actually going to go ahead and ask it again. Should narcissists be considered disabled? And let me tell you why I asked that question. From what we have come to know about narcissism, they're really not functional, guys. They're really not able to function in our world and in our society. They cause far more damage than they've ever cured, ever. They wreak havoc on their interpersonal lives with their families, their friends, neighbors. They wreak not only havoc, but they can bring pure hell at work. They can destroy careers. They seem to enjoy doing it. I was going to make a political comment, but I won't. All I'm going to say is, should narcissists be considered disabled? And if we did consider them disabled, would that enable us to kindly and gently remove them from the workplace at minimum? Remove them from any place that they can have an influence over someone else, because certain disabilities do not allow you to do certain things. That's kind of the nature of the word. You see what I mean? Not able. So if you're not able to do certain things without literally destroying someone else's life, to me, that would almost qualify you as an individual who might be disabled and who might need to come out of the sphere of healthy. Let me not say that, because I don't want to imply that people who are healthy are somehow better. That would allow you to come out of the sphere of people who are able to collaborate, to communicate, to work together towards a common good. It's like they're just there to be the disruptors. They're just there to be the obstacles. Do you see what I mean? And in your being an obstacle, you actually are hurting others. So to me, that makes you not able. So I'm just posing the question, should narcissists be considered disabled, especially considering everything that we talked about in this show today? So these are the questions that I'm leaving you with. Let's see. I think I'm going to do a little quick, or should I do an after show? I'm actually not going to do an after show, y'all. I'm actually just going to close it out here and just kind of let it sit here. I hope that doesn't disappoint you guys, but I kind of just want to make sure that the message stays the message stays as pure as I wanted it to be. Okay. And sometimes with the comments, I end up going down rabbit holes and sidebars. And before you know it, I will have said something that will offend somebody. So I'm not going to do an after show today, but I do thank you guys for coming on. I do thank you guys for listening and considering everything that we've talked about today. I do think this is interesting, and I think it's worthy of further discussion. So depending on the comments, and I'll read the live chat once it uploads, I'll see if you guys kind of want that secondary discussion. And if so, we'll do that for sure. But I do want to close out on this thought. One major area this makes me think of is the area of technology. It's my understanding, and I don't know this to be fact, so feel free to fact check me. It's my understanding that a lot of individuals with autism and Asperger's find their way into tech jobs, software developers, software engineers, coders. You see what I mean? And if that is the case, are we, how can I say this? If there are individuals who have trouble seeing other people as people, which also means they have trouble empathizing with other people, then are they able to design technology that really works for people? Think about the frustrations you have with either your phone, your computer, or your app. And to you, they seem like such simple fixes, right? Like, for example, just with the YouTube live chat, when I do an after show, I can only see like 50% of the comments. The other 50% are gone until after the show. Well, that to me is a simple fix, but that simple fix would only be made by somebody who understands how important it would be for a creator to see all the comments during the show still. But if you don't think like that, you see what I mean? It would also explain why our algorithm is so jacked up. Go back to sleep, baby algo. Because the way the algorithm thinks is, well, if she didn't watch the video, then he probably won't like it either. So I'm not going to show it to him because she didn't like it. And it's like, nobody asked you to do that kind of thinking for us. But it's the exact type of thinking someone would do if someone thinks in a very black and white, simplistic, garbage in, garbage out way without considering the nuances. Then if you hire someone who actually has the ability to consider all of the nuances, you are going to frustrate someone who can't see them. It's like, hey, do you think we should make the live chat complete so the creators can look at it while they're still streaming? Well, why would they want to do that? Because they might want to see what their viewers were saying during the show. Well, it's an hour and a half later. Like, they don't need to see what they said an hour and a half earlier. They're not even talking about that anymore. Well, maybe, but maybe not. You don't know that. Why don't you give them the option and they can make that decision? Oh, they don't need to see the whole live chat, okay? They only need to see the last 10 minutes. Do you see the type of arguments that could develop when you're arguing with someone who can't understand the full picture? And the final question I'll leave you with is, do you see how big of a problem that could be in all areas of life? Do you see how big of a problem that could be if a person like this is in a position of leadership or power over others? 100% unable to see the layers, 100% unable to truly consider other people real. Like, that's probably hard for you to even imagine. The only way that I can explain it to you is think about how you think of Siri or Alexa. Sorry if I just triggered y'all's Siris and Alexas. But think about how you think of those AI robotic assistants. You don't think of them as people, do you? Even though they kind of interact with you as people, you don't think of them as people. So what I'm trying to tell you is individuals like the one from that clip see you the same way. They see you as Siri and Alexa. Data in, data out. And when you do things opposite of the data in, you are going to cause tremendous problems in your life with that particular person. So with that, guys, I am going to go ahead and close the live stream. I appreciate you guys. I will leave the chat open for just a few minutes so you guys can talk to each other and close up your conversations. I will be reading the live chat later. And yeah, thank you for joining. I can't wait to see what you guys think about all of this. Okay, take care, and we will talk again very soon. Bye.